We're honored to be here this afternoon as part of the Valentine banquet to celebrate the season of love among those we love, among church family. Thank you for coming. We look forward to sharing and laughing and singing along in this time together on this Valentine's Day week. This is Austin, my son-in-law, and Elizabeth, my oldest daughter, and Mary, my youngest daughter. I'm slightly proud of them. I tell you, it's a joy to be able to sing together. You know, we grew up in church in the pre-W2 days. Look, when you sat through the entire sermon and sat through all of the songs and all of the hymns, and I heard a lot of the hymns, as probably many of you did, long before I understood what they were really talking about. And I thought I understood, but occasionally we'd sing about one of my favorite pets, gladly the cross-eyed bear. I thought I understood, but did y'all ever have that experience?
You know, Bud, I actually had a next-door neighbor growing up named Joyce, and she threw a lot of parties, you know, the neighbors with parties, and the parties she threw in particular, she threw a lot of cheese parties, and we sang a little special song about that in church, actually. Bringing in the cheese, bringing in the cheese. We shall go to Joyce's, bringing in the cheese. Bringing in the cheese, bringing in the cheese. We shall go to Joyce's, bringing in the cheese.
So while Austin was going to Joyce's cheese party, I actually had a really long-term crush on a little boy named Andy, and I was just so happy when I was able to go to church and to sing a hymn about all that Andy did for me and just how our relationship worked. Andy talks with me, Andy walks with me, Andy tells me and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Well, after all the singing at church, I just remember getting very thirsty, and I would always look forward to having Sunday lunch and having Lipton iced tea. It's always my beverage of choice.
have not love, I have become sounding brass or clanging cymbal.
And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing.
Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up.
Love does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil.
Love does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth.
Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
Love never fails.
And now abide faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love.
Is for the way you look at me.
Oh, it is for the only one I see. He is very, very extraordinary.
He is even more than anyone that you adore.
And love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game or two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. L is for the way you look at me.
Oh, it's for the only one I see. He is very, very extraordinary.
He is even more than anyone that you adore.
And love is all that I can give to you. Love
just a game or two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. That's very true for me and you.
In July, my dad promised that we would tell our love story, and unfortunately, we didn't get back around to actually doing it. So, for those of you all who have been waiting in anticipation since July, we are going to share our story, and for those of y'all who have just met us and know who we are, we're very excited to share it. Our story actually begins in May of 2009. I had just graduated from Stanford and had returned from a European choir tour with the a cappella choir.
And I had actually just graduated from Union University in Jackson, Tennessee, and I was about to begin my master's program in the fall.
Unlike Austin, I did not have any definite post-graduation plans. The farthest I had gotten was deciding I would spend the summer with my grandparents in Paducah, Kentucky. And in the meantime, I was going to work at the local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
Meanwhile, I was working and preparing to continue my education and wondering what it was that God had in store for me.
God opened the door for me to stay in Paducah when my boss offered me the job of marketing director for the local Chick-fil-A. I was delighted and accepted the job, and so I enjoyed getting involved in the community, learning my job, and being involved in church over the next several months. It was just a very sweet season in my life.
And since I knew I would be in the Jackson area, at least for the next few years, I decided to buy a house. So at the very end of November in 2010, I signed the papers for my house. And when I moved in, I couldn't help but be in that house and just think what memories would occur there, who I would share that house with. And it really was the epitome of a bachelor pad, so I needed help making it look pretty.
One cold week in January, my boss asked me to be a part of the marketing team for Chick-fil-A grand opening in Franklin, Tennessee. Each time Chick-fil-A opens a new restaurant, it is a big celebration with a week-long events, just one right after the other.
And my particular favorite event of the Chick-fil-A openings is the First 100 event. The First 100 event is where the first 100 people and 10 alternates come to the Chick-fil-A 24 hours before the actual opening, who stay till the next morning. They get free Chick-fil-A for a year. The veteran that hated these things. This was my night, and I'm a guy,
Well, with that, the stage was set for us to meet. So my main duty that evening that Dawson and I met was to go around to all the guests that were housed in the Chick-fil-A building due to inclement weather and just make sure they had everything they needed. And so my first words to my future husband were, "May I refresh your beverage?"
And what she did not know is that I had already spotted her beautiful face from across the room. And I kept watching how she was talking to people. She was very enthusiastic, and I really liked that. And I thought, she's so pretty. So I waited for her to come around to my side of the restaurant, and when she asked me the beautiful question, "May I refresh your beverage?" I just knew I had to get to know her more. She was so genuine. I really loved that.
His opportunity to talk to me came later in the evening in the romantic location of the Chick-fil-A parking lot. He came up and introduced himself, and I was impressed with his friendliness and confidence.
And we had a great conversation. I remember feeling a very deep connection almost instantly. We talked about everything from life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, just different life experiences, literature. I mean, we hit every big topic really. And so it was like she was saying my thoughts with my choice of words, my inflection. I mean, it was just really amazing. It's like my mind was speaking through her.
we just kept finding out things we had in common, and I kept thinking, I really like talking to this guy. This is really fun. Unfortunately, my duties cut our conversation short, but we did have the opportunity to talk at several other points throughout the evening.
And the next morning, I was still in the parking lot. You know, I looked wonderful. I was all unshaven, blue poncho, looking good. And I woke up with a sense of urgency. I have to find Elizabeth. Is she even still here? So I rushed around, and eventually I found her. And her supervisor was asking her to pick up trash in the parking lot.
So, donned in my lovely red poncho with garbage bags in hand, I hardly felt glamorous when this guy that I met last night that I really liked came up to me and talked to me. But the words he said, I'll never forget.
I told her, Elizabeth, I really enjoyed talking with you, and I would like to talk with you again. I think you have a beautiful heart, and I would like to continue this conversation at some other point. And I asked her for her contact information.
I felt like I was in a movie scene. Things like this didn't happen in real life. So, in a voice that was much more confident than how I was really feeling on the inside, I did give him my contact information.
And about a week later, it was February 1st, 7 o'clock in the evening, I did give her a call, and the conversation flowed with such ease that it flowed right into 3 hours long. I was very thankful for unlimited cell phone minutes.
The more we talked, the more I liked Dawson. Since he was in Jackson, Tennessee, and I was living in Paducah, Kentucky, which are about 2 hours apart, I knew that he was going to have to be the one to initiate when we would have our first date.
And the timing really was perfect for our first date. Valentine's Day. So, you know, we were both really nervous because we'd only seen each other this one other time at this Chick-fil-A opening. And, but, you know, we had a really great time. And at the end of it, found an opportunity. It went so well, I asked her for a second date, which was also conveniently her birthday, a week later.
So a week later, we convened in Nashville to celebrate my birthday and our second date. And I can say it was one of the best birthdays of my life, and mainly because that day Austin asked me to be his girlfriend.
And one of the first things that we did when we became official was to sit down and pray. And that's one of the things that we really sought to do since the beginning of our marriage. We really sought to keep the Lord in the center of it all.
I just kept thinking, this just feels too good to be true. God, is this really happening? And I don't know why I was questioning God's blessings, but it just was wonderful.
I knew very, very early on that I wanted to marry this woman. She's truly amazing. You know, I still think so. But I really, even in our first conversation, I told her I didn't know anyone like her.
I knew I would marry Austin pretty early on as well. The Lord made it clear that he was the one for me. So we actually got engaged that June and married the following November, exactly 10 months to the day that we met.
And so this Valentine's Day marks the 4th anniversary of our first date.
The past 3 years have been the most wonderful, most difficult, and most rewarding of our lives. The Lord has used our marriage to teach us so many things.
And we really do love our love story, but most of all, we love it because it's a story that God has written. And we're just so thankful for every lesson He's taught us. And, you know, it's funny that He used Chick-fil-A to bring us together. Who would have thought? But so if there's one thing I've really learned from this whole experience, it's to eat more chicken. Thankfully, yes. I am dreaming, dear, of you. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so true. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you.
I'll be the bouncing ball, let's all sing together.
Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so true. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You may see a stranger across a Chick-fil-A, and somehow you'll know even then, that somewhere you'll see her again and again. Some enchanted evening, someone may be laughing. You may hear her laughing across a crowded room, and night after night, as strange as it seems, the sound of her laughter will sing in your dreams. Who can explain it? Who can tell you why? Fools give you reasons, wise men never try. Some enchanted evening, when you find your true love, when you hear her call you across a crowded room, then fly to her side and make her your own, or all through your life you may dream of alone. Once you have found her, never let her go. Once you have found her, never let her go.
So something I learned in the course of our relationship, you've always heard when you marry a person, you also marry their family. And I discovered that I also got acting